Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Have you ever thought about reinventing yourself? I know that there's a lot of women in my fold, a lot of people in my fold who've been doing things a certain way for, say, 20 years or more. And when they come to me as a student, they're right in that time in their life that they're at a crossroads. They're thinking, well, I don't want to do that anymore. So, what am I going to do moving forward? Lots and lots of pop stars and artists around the world actually reinvent themselves over and over and over again to get a fresh perspective on life, to give their audiences something else, something more. As they grow, they redevelop and move forward. We're the same. We don't need to stay stuck just because we're not a famous pop star or, excuse me, a famous celebrity. So today you're going to absolutely love, love, love my guest because, like me, she has reinvented herself so many times. But unlike me in the entertainment industry, I just reinvented myself around the same sort of areas, just doing different things like dancing, singing, trapeze, gymnastics, whatever it was. Every single job I would reinvent myself a little bit. But no, Shari had to go the whole mile. She had to go from anesthesiologist to international recording artist, and then, hang on, to motivational speaker, real estate agent, then book author. This girl is a massive, massive achiever. So if you think that it's time to get a little bit more excitement into your life after 40 and you want to reinvent yourself, recreate things in your life that you're not happy with right now, you will love, love, love our interview today. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Shari Hall. Hello, hello. Oh, it's nice to see you.
Hello. Oh, great to see you, Elisa James. Thank you for welcoming me on your show.
Oh, look, you're very welcome. It's so great to be here. We're doing this live, everybody, on Friday. So if you're joining us live right now, you can join us in a couple of different places. If you're seeing this live on Facebook, make sure that you allow StreamYard to see your comments underneath the video, because that way we can show your name up on the screen and answer any questions. So for instance, Ice has just joined us from YouTube. Super excited for this interview. So see, just like that, if you want to be involved today, if you have something to say, if you want to chat with me or Shari, then all you have to do is comment below the video that you're seeing it, whether it's live streaming on YouTube or whether it's live streaming on Facebook. So come and join the party, and then we'll be here and we'll put those things up on the screen for you. Now, let's jump into it. Shari, you have had such an incredible life. What the thing that I think people would have a hard time getting their head around is how did you move from doctor, which is so a different mindset, to creative? It would be very unusual, I would imagine, that would stay in the same body of a person, because usually it's analytical and technical and engineer mind and doctor's brain and lawyer's stuff. And then over here, very, very different life, all life of freedom and passion and purpose. So what was that instigation for you to shift from one to the other?
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, for your audience who's new to me, Dr. Shari Hall, I actually just go by Shari Hall today because just as you've said, I've sort of recreated myself and put aside the doctor part of who I am. Very something. At a very early age, Elisa, I had made the decision that I wanted to be a doctor, and there are lots of reasons why I did that. The primary reason, though, and this is being perfectly honest with your audience, the primary reason was I was what I felt advantage circumstances, and I wanted to change my stars. I wanted to elevate my socioeconomic status. I wanted to create an identity that I felt would be respected and have a sense of significance and contribution to the world. I didn't necessarily choose medicine to be this of the world. Having said that, I had a really fantastic 24-year course in thoracic, as we'd say in America. I'm originally from New York, living in Australia now. However, also from a very early age, Elisa, I knew that my heart was in music. I come from a very strong musical family. I've got singers and dancers and concert pianists and gospel artists and, rock stars. There's music is in the blood of the whole family.
Yeah,
So
sounds like it.
essentially, yeah. So essentially, by making that decision for me, I'm a doctor, one of the questions in the world, caused a lot of internal and personal self-sacrifice and trauma for me in so many ways. And that's where we're going to get to the crux of what we're going to talk today, which is how do we learn to recreate or reinvent ourselves after having lived a life that perhaps wasn't our true calling? It's something called life, right? A lot of us go through life just walking through the steps of our plan B life.
Absolutely. You're so right. Shari, you're freezing it a lot. Is there any way that you could just double check the internet and make sure it's not on Wi-Fi? Because it might be competing with the cellular data and the Wi-Fi. So just hang tight, guys. We're just trying to get a better signal here for Shari.
Yes, and I apologize. Yeah, and I apologize too, because the weather is a bit strange here right now. So let's just
you're back. So it's all good. That whole section unfortunately was just we couldn't see you, but we could hear you very well. So that was good. So if you're just joining us, welcome. It's all about reinventing yourself. And Shari's just given us a taste of what that was like for her. She was a doctor and anesthesiologist for 24 years, but always had this creativity and singing and drama sort of stuff in the background in her blood. So that is awesome. And how many people actually have that but go into a different career completely and then realize that you wake up one day and that calling is still so strong, it takes over your whole being and that propels you forward in a very different way. And that's exactly what happened to Shari. So how were you able to step out of that life as a doctor and recreate yourself to be that creative, authentic soul that you are right now? Oops, you've gone on mute. I can't hear you. Just check the mic for me again. Nope, I can't hear you. The sound is gone. I'll just play the waiting game. It's all good. Check. 1 2 1 2. No. Oh my goodness. So something stopped the sound. Yeah, take your headphones out. Let's see if that fixes it. No. Okay. I know. That's all right. Let me put you back in the green room and see if that works. We're just having some connectivity problems here, guys. 1 second. Thank you for your patience. We're trying to get Dr. Shari Hall back. Let me put her back in the stream and see if we can get that microphone working. So your mic is completely stopped working. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, we might have to start again. Yeah. Shari, why don't you go out of the stream completely, like log out and then just log back in. Yep, there you go. All right. We have an interruption to send you this message. Not really. I don't have a jingle or anything that I want to show you right now, but I just want to really get Shari on here so we can actually hear her. She's an incredible woman. I toured with Shari for 2019 in a menopause and musical. This is the show that we were in together. And that's when we met. We actually met at the audition and in the first rehearsals of that show. And it was just so amazing to work with somebody who is so intelligent and organized and talented. She not only is she a doctor and a real estate agent and a motivational speaker, but she also can sing and dance and act. I mean, that's pretty unusual for a doctor who is a professional, serious full-time doctor for 24 years. Can you imagine? And that just shows me that anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Anything is possible if you actually listen to your heart. And that's what Shari's really, really good at doing, is listening to that inner guidance, listening to that little voice in the inside, so you can lift yourself up and move yourself and reinvent yourself forward. Yay, you're back. I can hear the noise now. Hello.
Oh, goodness. That's crazy. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah, look, the internet gods are sometimes not on our side. These things happen, but isn't it wonderful that we can still talk to each other on video and voice when we're thousands of miles away, which I'm very grateful for. It's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's get back to what we were talking about. And
yeah.
My apologies to everybody. You know, this is live, right? This is like live theater.
It happens, guys. Exactly.
You have to be prepared for everything. So we're back.
Absolutely.
And we're talking to you. And Elisa asked me, how did I actually get myself out of the Plan B life, the doctor life, and into what is now what I consider my authentic creative self, and sharing that kind of joy with the world? I'll tell you what, I had to go to some very, very deep, dark places. And I think for a lot of people, making the decision to switch out of something that they're very comfortable with, it may not be what they love, it may not be what they're passionate about, but it earns a paycheck, it gives them security, it gives them stability, it's regular and routine. There's a lot of consistency and certainty that comes with having that. So all that may be true, but you may be feeling in your heart that that's not what you were called to do. It's not what you were meant to do on a larger scale in the world. So in order to make that shift, I think sometimes we end up going to very, very dark places, very difficult places. We have to overcome struggles and traumas in our life and revisit past experiences. And a lot of people will understand that. I mean, maybe you too, Elisa, have had that moment in your life where you just reached the point. You reached the tipping point. There was an event. There was something that happened for you. Now, for me, it was actually over several years. But there were two major events in my life that led to me calling it quits as a doctor. One of them was the death of my mother. Interestingly enough, while my mother had nothing to do with me becoming a doctor, that was all me. I own that decision. She was a very strong influence in my life. And I think when she passed away, and she was young, she was only 64, I felt in her a sense of sadness and regret that she did not do or accomplish or fully live into her authentic life, the one that she really felt she was destined for and lived. And that made me take a real hard look at my own life and ask myself, am I happy? Am I happy? Simple. That was one thing. The second thing, though, was my divorce. And they happened in the same year. I got divorced and my mother passed away in the same year. And it was almost like the 1-2 punch that sent me on a rapid downward spiral to really questioning, what is my life all about? Where am I going? Is this what I was meant to do? I feel like I'm giving to the world and I'm contributing, but in my heart, I'm not happy. I'm not exuding the honest, authentic joy that I want to give to the world. I'm wearing this mask that nobody can see through. So that's really what happened. That double whammy of my mother dying and my divorce set me on this deep, deep introspective conversation.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it does take those massive shifts. It's not as though we all wake up one day and go, I'm unhappy, I'm going to quit my job. It actually happens over time, and you get this niggling sensation that something is not quite right. Something is not quite fulfilled.
Yes, that's so true. It is a process. You know, it's one to say, okay, I'm going to, and when you listed my litany of things that, I've done in my life, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this, but it's another thing to really, and I do have like a little 4-step process that we're going to talk about, but it's one thing to really embrace the process of what's happening inside you as this change and this reinvention is occurring. So we're going to talk about.
Oh, look, I think that's a really wonderful inspiration for people to know that it's not from one day to the next. And it was never like that for me. And I'm sure it's not like that for a lot of people. But what I want you to know is, if you're struggling on the inside and you're you're feeling these unsatiated feelings come up, listen to them. It's telling you something. It's telling you something. It's telling you something. It's time to shift. It's time to change something. And that, yes, it could mean an external factor, but it means that you're ready to grow.
That's exactly
And that can be really scary for people. So when you made this decision, Shari, to really step into that, to rise out of the confines and limitations that the old identity had for you, when did that like final crux come? Was it the second thing and you went, that's it?
Yeah. So believe it or not, Elisa, it was about a 10-year process for me. So
Wow.
a 10-year process for me. I knew very early in my career as a doctor that while I had gone to the best universities in the world, I mean, I went to Yale and Columbia. I think most people have heard of Yale. And I had an exceptional education and kind of like $1 million brain, all the dollars that was invested into me becoming a doctor. What happened over that 10-year process was I had to learn how to relinquish all of that, to let go of all the years that I invested, to let go of all the money I invested, to let go of the disappointment in myself of not wanting to continue in that career. There was so much letting go that had to happen. And that was a process that was over about a 10-year process. The inciting event for me was 10 years after the divorce and death of my mother. And I was working as an anesthesiologist. And believe it or not, one day in the operating room, I actually thought, with a patient on the table in front of me, that I checked out. I checked out. And what I mean by that, for anybody who's had surgery before, you know, the anesthesiologist is the person at the head of the table keeping you alive. And you don't want your anesthesiologist checking out in the middle of a massive surgery. And this was it. That was the defining moment for me. I realized that I was checking out in the operating room, that the person on the table under my care, the life, the soul, the human flesh and tissue under my care was not getting my 100% undivided, committed attention. And that can mean life or death in the operating room.
Oh, absolutely. You're so right. And you're just talking being present. If we love with every cell in our body what we're doing, we're not going to check out, are we?
No.
We're not going to do it.
No, you're going to be present and you're going to be interested and engaged and enthusiastic, but like we are right now, right?
Yeah.
So when I realized that I checked out, that was really the moment. That was it. That was the moment where I said, you know, I cannot step into the operating room and accept the responsibility of another person's life, their actual life, in my hands without being all in.
Yeah.
Without being all in. And I wasn't all in. And that's when I stepped out. And that was in 2017, 10 years after the death of my mother and my divorce. That's how long it took me to go through this process. And then even after that, Elisa, that's when the hard work really began.
Oh, of course. Oh my goodness, that decision. I remember one of my mentors saying that's the hardest part because it's like being on a trapeze. So you've got the guy in the middle hanging from his knees, ready to catch you on the other side. But the problem is you're all the way up there on a platform and you have to freaking jump first and go towards him. And then you have to let go of the bar that you know is going to save your life and hang in midair. And then the guy catches you on the other side. There is no other way. You have to do that movement to get to the next bar.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And so how do we get to the point, though, where we can do that, right? How do we get to the point where we can simply let go of that bar and rise up and leap into that new destination that we're headed for? And I do kind of have, it's going to sound really simple what I'm going to say, but there's much more to each of these steps than what's just in the words. But if you want to
go into that, I'll show that on the screen so people can follow the path.
Okay, so here we go. So it's 4 simple words, and this is all I'm going to ask your audience to kind of tune into. And the ultimate goal that we're looking at is how can we reinvent, recreate, or what I call rise up out of your plan B life into your plan A passion, your plan A destiny, your plan A higher purpose. I call that transition a transcendent encore. That's what I call it, a transcendent encore. Transcendent meaning rising higher, encore into doing the thing after the thing that you've already done. So what was the thing that I was meant to do? What's my higher purpose, my higher calling after I've had a 25-year career as a doctor, right? That's my plan B. That was my plan B. That wasn't my true calling. So here's what I did over 7 years after that inciting event in 2017, that moment when I checked out. My 4-step process was simple. You can write these 4 words down. Listen, listen, look, learn, and leap. Now, it sounds simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Step number 1 is to listen. Our lives, Elisa, are very, very busy, very congested. We all have checklists and to-do lists that are infinite. Every single day we're moving stuff onto the next page because we're running from here, doing this, doing that, doing more, achieving that, you know, having to go to this place, go to this work environment, go back to our home and our family, care for this person, care for that. Our lives are busy. Even in pandemic world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People are still busy. People are busy in their heads. People are busy physically in their lives and in their environment. Everywhere around them, there's busyness and rushing and getting from place to place, people honking at you on the highway, people pushing in front of you at the grocery store to get toilet paper, whatever. Life is busy. Do you know that first year after I decided to leave the operating room in 2017, the entire next year, and I mean this, for 12 months, I did absolutely nothing. Now, I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of doing nothing, but I came back to Australia. I just became a mother to my children, and I sat on the deck of my apartment and looked out at the sky like a zombie for about a year. Now, am I suggesting that everybody's going to check out like that for a year? No. But what I'm saying is, in order to be ready, in order to acknowledge that there is something bigger that you've been destined for, you have to actually take time to be still and receive that information. And in order to get that information, you have got to slow down. You've got to sit still. You have to listen to the messages that you are receiving intuitively and that you feel. Like you said, you mentioned it. When you feel that gut feeling, that niggling sensation that something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
How do you tap into that? If you're constantly going and trying to get the next thing done on your to-do list, you have got to take time for yourself every single day to sit still, to be quiet, and to listen to what the universe is trying to communicate to you.
Yeah.
What it's trying to let you know is your ultimate calling in this world. So that is number 1. You've got to, and there's any number of ways that we can do this, right? I mean, for me, I literally checked out for a year. I didn't do anything except take my kids to school, come home, sit on my deck, look at the sky and stare out into the wilderness, go back, pick up my kids from school, do the nighttime routine and go to bed. That was myself for all of 2018, right? So,
and you know, it sort of sounds attractive in a way, but then when I really imagine myself doing that, I would get absolutely frustrated and bored within a week. I don't think I'd be able to cope. It would be a very hard thing for a lot of people to do, is just sit and wait for that next message or the next inspiration. But sometimes we have to do that. We have to stop.
Exactly.
And listen.
I know what? The universe is very powerful. Whether you believe in God or universe or source or energy, whatever you want to call it, I think most of us would agree that there's a higher power of some kind out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's a religious entity or not, right? Let's just accept that the world is amazing, and how could this world be without something greater going on, right? I mean, I look at the palm trees every day, and it's like, wow, like who created that? So, but I guess what I'm getting at is, unless that you give yourself the time to appreciate and just sit still in those present moments, you're not going to be able to receive what is actually destined for you in your life. Now, you might not be able to take a year off and check out like I did, but maybe you can take 5 minutes a day. Maybe you can take
absolutely.
maybe you can 10 minutes a day to sit quietly, to sit still, to just be real present in the moment, to listen to the birds, to listen to the raindrops falling, to listen to your breath and your heartbeat, to, to just sit still by yourself. Go for a walk in nature, go for a walk in the park, whatever. Number one, you have to put yourself in a position to be able to listen to whatever the messages are. Some people might say, and I've had this happen, maybe you've had this happen, Elisa, when a change is about to happen, all this stuff starts to happen that puts you in the direction of that change.
Absolutely. Good or bad, you think at the time.
You know what I'm talking about? Right?
Absolutely.
Like, have you ever been in a job and you felt, oh, it's time for me to kind of leave this job. I'm thinking of a career change. And all of a sudden, all this bad stuff starts happening at the job that's virtually kicking you out the door. That's happened to me.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Listening. You have to listen. Those things aren't necessarily bad things. In fact, they're messages that are being sent to you, that are being told to you. You're going someplace new. And you need to embrace that, but you got to sit still. Number 2 is to look. Now, what do I mean by look? I've got 2 phases of the look process. One, you need to look back on your life. You need to reflect. And in fact, if I may, I'd like to suggest you need to look back to your childhood, because it's as a child that we gave ourselves permission. Actually, it wasn't even giving ourselves permission. It was we innately had the ability to dream. And that's why you see I have my shirt on that says dreamer today.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
If you look back on your life and you look back on the days when you were a child, what did you dream about? What did you fantasize about? I can tell you, from the time I was a very little girl, I wanted to be on the stage. I knew that. I knew my heart was in the theater and on the stage and performing for people and sharing that effervescent joy that I had with the world on the stage. I invite your listeners to take a moment to look back on their life and reflect on what it is they wanted to do when they were children. What were their childhood dreams? And it doesn't matter if you think it's crazy. Look at William Shatner going up into space at 90 years old, right? Who would have thought? But you know what? He's been living that his whole entire life as Captain Kirk on the Starship Enterprise. He's been living it. And now he's actually actualized that dream. He maybe had a dream when he was a kid. I want to fly into space one day. Maybe not. Maybe he was just a chance actor that got a role as a captain on a starship.
Who knows? Who knows?
Right. So I invite you to look back on your life and really dive into those childhood memories of what made you happy, what made your heart sing, what made you just jump around with joy and run from place to place like children do. Where did that energy come from? That's going to tap into what you really are destined and called to do. The other part of the look is that you need to be open to look at all opportunities that come to you. It may not be that you're going to be doing the thing that you actually think you're going to be doing. It may be that someone else or some other environment or situation recognizes an untapped talent in you, and they might make a suggestion or give you an opportunity. And inside, you might actually just have a little feeling, a little leap in your heart. It's like, Oh, I've never done that before. That's really strange. Oh, I wonder why did they think of me for that? Look at all
Yep.
opportunities come in front of you. Don't be afraid to do something new. Look and explore and dive into a little bit any opportunity that comes in front of you. Okay. It might just be the opportunity that you didn't know was supposed to be your plan A life, right?
Absolutely. And you know how many times people come into my studio with exactly this idea? And I've taught all over the world, but when people come into me at 40, 50, 60, even 70, it's because they didn't listen to that little spark when they were a child. They
That's right.
squished it, they ignored it, and they moved into another direction. Maybe because they didn't feel supported, they didn't feel good enough. But now their heart is just aching for something else, aching to be
Exactly.
heard, to be sharing something. We've got
Exactly.
it. Let's just say a quick hello to everybody here. We've got thank you so much. Freedom Cartoon Network has joined us from
Hello.
Dubai in the United Emirates,
Hello,
United Arab
Dubai.
Emirates. Nice to see you. Hi, he's saying, how, ma'am, how are you? This is so sweet. We love you too. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you joining our show. If you have any questions about reinventing yourself, then that's what we're just about to wrap up here. We're looking at number one is listen. Number
Yeah.
two is look. And number
Number
three is learn. We're up to learn.
And what I mean about learning is that I think people get very caught up in what's happening in the world from a technology perspective, right? On our Facebook pages or social media pages, we're listening to the news and the media and, reading newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's one way to gain information. That is one way to gain information, truthful or not. But the other way to gain information is you yourself be open to researching and learning about everything. I am the ultimate believer in education, learning things, not to be afraid of learning new things. I went
Yes.
from learning how to be a doctor, 24 years, to learning how to be a fitness professional. I have a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, to learning how to become a real estate agent. I have a Cert 4 in property and property management. To learning about aged care, which I do now. I work a little bit in aged care, so I got a Cert 3 in individual support in aged care. I am a constant believer in stimulating your mind and gaining new information. And I don't mean on your phone as in terms of like your social media accounts. I mean, allow yourself to learn. If you're looking at a tree and you're like, wow, how did that tree get to be 100 years old? Go find out. If you're looking at another individual who is in a profession, let's say they're a vocal coach like you, Elisa, well, how did she learn how to do that? Get yourself a mentor, read a book, for goodness sake. Actually open a book and start educating your mind every single day about anything, any topic, anything. Read a book, talk to somebody who's really good at what they do, research things on your own, but you must be constantly gaining and acquiring information. And that's what I did also in that year where I sat still. I allowed myself to learn about new things, things that you don't think you're interested in. Once you start learning about, you might be fascinated about. Like, I've just started reading and learning about dementia and how people are aging in our society. I'm engrossed in it. I can't get enough. I want to learn more because more and more people are getting older and suffering from dementia, right? So allow your brain is a massive computer. It wants to learn. And the more you engage it and the more you stimulate it, the more new ideas are going to come forward for you, right?
Yeah.
And then the last step, of course, is what you were referring to, Elisa, which is the leap part. This is going to be the hardest step for anyone to take when they're thinking about how do I recreate or reinvent myself. The actual letting go of what's behind and leaping forward to the unknown that's yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
It takes courage.
Oh, yeah.
It takes faith. It takes unquestionable belief in yourself that it's possible, that anything is possible if you apply yourself and you really focus on it and put all your attention on it. And it takes a determination and grit and resilience that those are muscles that we have to develop. And I could go so much further into this. We don't have time today, but I could dive much deeper into this. But that last moment where you say, I am doing that, I'm going in that direction, you've got to go. And not only do you have to go, you got to go with full confidence and belief that you are going to succeed at it. You've got to clearly visualize the end in mind, know where you're going, and then simply start doing the steps to get there.
Yeah.
Keep listening, keep looking around for opportunities, keep learning new things about what you want to do. I'm sure if you talk to people about how you became who you became, Elisa, and what you're doing now, there'd be a whole lot of learning that you had to do to get to this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So no matter
Absolutely.
no matter what it is you hear calling to your heart, after you've listened, after you've looked, after you've truly begun to learn about new things, when you've made the decision, go for it, and go for it big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, the biggest lesson in this that I'm hearing is, and I want everyone to hear this, when I made the decision to become a singer and an actor at a very young age, I just kept on learning. I didn't expect to be the next Celine Dion or Whitney Houston. I didn't have the voice for that. I couldn't compete with that sort of amazing, incredible talent. But I knew I had enough to keep learning and keep doing and keep showing up and keep learning and keep doing and keep showing up. And, you know, that's all I did. And when people say to me, oh, how did you become a professional singer? That's so hard. You know, you got to do so much stuff. Well, yeah, but it was just one gig at a time, one rehearsal at a time, one song at a time, next gig, next gig, next gig. And then you just fly. Yes. It's just those little stepping stones. You just got to take the leap. And that is the hardest thing, because you have to have so much faith and belief in yourself and your vision that nothing will distract you from that. That's 100%.
That's absolutely right. So just to kind of wrap up here and get back to your original questions, how did I actually go from being Dr. Shari Hall, cardiac anesthetist, to Shari Hall, singer, songwriter, author, and musical theater performer? How did I do that? I did exactly what I've asked and suggested. Yes, we've just finished a tour of Menopause the Musical. That's right. I've just finished.
If you missed it, sorry, back next year.
The professional Australian tour of Menopause the Musical. That's right. I've just written my memoir.
That was Shari and that was me.
Yeah. My memoir, Perfect Love, 600 pages. Tell me that didn't take some learning, right? How to write a memoir. I've recorded and released my 4th album last year. I am all in the creative zone now. I'm all in. And it doesn't matter to me what people say. It doesn't matter to me what people believe. It actually, Elisa, doesn't even matter if people like me or like the product that I'm producing. What I know now, and what I can say with absolute certainty and love, so much love, is that this Shari, who you're seeing today, this Shari that you're talking to and communicating, is the authentic Shari that Shari was meant to be in the world. There's no mask, there's no hiding, there's no obstruction, there's no struggle. And I'm not talking about just kind of daily life struggle, but I'm talking about in terms of who I am and what I've shared with the world. It's effortless now for me. And that's just one more thing I might say, is that sometimes in our plan B life, right, it might be consistent and stable and something that we know, but there's times when it's really uncomfortable and it's a challenge and a struggle. And if that's, and you're getting home every day like, oh Lord, my life, what's going on? I find that when you step into your authentic self, when you step into the plan A life, when you make that leap, that transcendent encore into something bigger and greater, you find life just seems easier. I don't mean that you're not going to have work to do. There's always work to do.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You work very, very hard at what you do.
Yes, I do.
You do, but you're glowing. And it's clear that you're following your passion of helping people and educating people and really stepping into who you are as your authentic core. Don't be afraid, people. Don't be afraid. It's scary, but we're here. We love you.
Absolutely.
If you're following your heart, you will speed towards your final destination. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
I love that. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. We're joining us from YouTube. Thanks for your effort on that massive, amazing channel. Mohammed, thank you so much for being here and being part of my channel. It's because you're watching and you're interested in the content that we have risen so fast to 20,000 subscribers. It's just been an amazing journey, and that's partly because of you. That's wonderful, Kylie. Thank you so much for being here. It's lovely to have you. Oops, something else came up.
Thanks, Kylie. Hello.
You're such an inspiration, Shari and Elisa. Thank you so much for your wonderful advice. Thank you for joining us. That is absolutely fantastic. Now, underneath, you'll see my beautiful assistant, Ice, has just put a whole bunch of links and things. It's too much to show here, but it's going to be underneath the video that you're seeing on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you so much, Ice, for sharing those links for us. And thank you so much, Shari, for being here. Oh my goodness, it's been such a pleasure, such a joy to hang out with you again. I miss you.
I miss you so much too, darling. I really do miss you. And, thank you so much to all your listeners. And of course, I know I just put down in the bottom how to get in contact with me. Very easy to go to my webpage or connect with me on social media. Would love you to grab a book, Perfect Love, because that's all about this story that we're talking about right now. How to leap into and find your true authentic self. And that perfect love comes from within you.
Bingo. You hit the nail on the head. Thank you, guys. I hope this has given you some inspiration today. That's what it's all about for us on this channel, especially. I love inviting other people into the fold, because then we can combine our efforts and inspire you to live a better life. That's why I'm here, and that's why Shari's here too. So I hope you've enjoyed it today with Dr. Shari Hall, or no longer Dr. Shari Hall, but just Shari Hall. But that's okay. You're a doctor of many things, including singing and dancing and acting and writing songs. And I'm Elisa James, and it's been our pleasure to serve you today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.